This video contains discussion that some may find upsetting, and as such, it's also likely to be demonetized, so a special thanks to patrons like Clark S, whose support makes these videos possible. Sign up by clicking the link below. Early on Wednesday morning, Haitian President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated at his home, throwing the whole country into uncertainty. 48 hours on, and there's still a huge number of unanswered questions. So let's run through what we know, and crucially what we don't, right now. As I said a moment ago, early in the morning on Wednesday, a group of people with assault weapons entered President Moïse's home on the outskirts of Haiti's capital. Making their way to the president's bedroom where he was sleeping, the assailants met with and tied up a number of staff, including a maid and household assistants. After that, once they reached the president, they fired at least 12 bullets into him, killing Moïse. The president's daughter was also in the house, but she was able to hide and escape uninjured. And, well, that's essentially all we know at the moment, so let's run through some of the outstanding questions. First of all, we don't yet know who committed the crime. According to the police, 26 people took part in the assassination, 24 from Colombia and 2 from America, which makes sense, considering that those in the area reported hearing the assailants speaking in Spanish and English, something which stands out in a country which predominantly speaks French and Haitian Creole. Of the 26 people allegedly involved, 17 are supposedly in police custody, including both Americans, with the remaining 9 people currently on the run. We also know, at least according to the country's ambassador to the US, that the killers were well-trained professional commandos, going on to describe them as foreign mercenaries. He also alleged that the assassins posed as US Drug Enforcement Agency officers in order to gain access to the building. Another thing we don't yet know is why they chose to kill President Moïse. If they were professional mercenaries, as the ambassador suggested, then they clearly were just paid to kill the president, likely by someone rich and powerful. But why? Well, if we're going to speculate, the president was a somewhat controversial figure. Elected to his office 4.5 years ago, Moïse promised to strengthen institutions, fight corruption, and invest in the country. However, critics have accused him of just becoming increasingly autocratic and authoritarian. This came to a head when Haiti's Superior Judicial Council ruled that his mandate had expired and he had to leave office. Moïse refused to step down, insisting that he'd stay in power until 2022, resulting in some major protests. In response to this, Moïse threatened to modify the country's constitution in order to prolong his tenure, as well as him dissolving parliament and forcing 3 Supreme Court justices into early retirement. Because of this, many have argued that Moïse lost public support early on in his tenure, with frustration only growing as he tried to maintain his grasp on power. It's also worth remembering that while this was all going on, Moïse was also presiding over high COVID infection rates, no vaccination program, rising inflation, and increasing gang violence, all of which further undermined his position. So while we don't know who killed him or why, we can maybe start to grasp why some people wanted him gone. The third major thing we don't know is what happens next. With the president out of the picture, someone new needs to take the reins, at least until an election can be called. Luckily, the Haitian constitution tells us that the head of the Supreme Court ought to take over, but unfortunately they died of COVID last month and are yet to be replaced. Also, some actually dispute this section of the 1987 Constitution altogether, insisting that amendments made since dictate that Parliament or the Prime Minister should choose the new president. Unfortunately, again, as we mentioned, Moïse suspended Parliament, so they can't pick. And, well, the PM isn't much easier. Since spring, the country has had an interim Prime Minister, Claude Joseph, selected by Moïse. However, earlier this week, Moïse chose a new permanent Prime Minister, Ariel Henry. Unfortunately for Henry, though, he hasn't been officially sworn in, leaving Joseph in charge. Well, kind of. Anyway, it's definitely unclear what's going to happen next for the politics of this already troubled country. In response to this chaos, Joseph has declared martial law in the country, something it's not even clear he has the power to do. And the Dominican Republic has announced that they're closing their border with Haiti due to security concerns, which isn't a good sign at all. With the country already facing political turmoil, a health crisis, and economic woes, this isn't going to make things easier, and, well, the path forward is far from clear. We'll do our best to keep you updated as this plays out, so subscribe to the channel for more updates and comment below what you think will happen next. As I said at the start, videos like this are made possible by our Patreon backers. In return for their support, they get a whole variety of perks, from early access to videos, exclusive live events, merch discounts, and more. Find out what you can get by clicking the link in the description. Thank you.